Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, the 3rd of March, 2024. We've got the 33 in there. We also have the 234 in there. Yeah. Oh, what a night. I was up early again and through the night. Couldn't sleep. And I'm just overwhelmed and exhausted with how far Canada has fallen. And over 4 years now, I've been sharing information at risk to myself, and other people have been sharing information at risk to themselves. Not a lot. And all of us have been targeted, harassed, lives threatened, careers ruined, destroyed, education, all of that stuff. Couldn't even leave our homes or our provinces for extended periods of time as well, and kicked out of various different organizations, while people blindly sat by and either did nothing. Okay, like Stanford prison experiments, even the guards that did nothing were still guilty by association and by not doing anything, even though they should have, right? Sitting back and doing nothing and or getting glory and amusement out of people's lives getting ruined. And so Helen Bruce, she has over 20 years experience working as Ottawa Police Services detective, and she was working over 7 years as in SACA, sexual assault, child abuse unit. And she now, it's been over 2 years now, she's been fighting in the courts, and she was suspended and charged during the first weekend of that freedom convoy that communist leftist radicals organized and planned and coordinated, and people that took that opportunity to be peaceful, but also share their data, like their stories, their injuries, or whatever, their experiences, took that time to use that and make sure that it was peaceful, because there were leftists and radicals and people on either extreme, actually, so it's left and right extremists, I would say, and that are in uniform, that are continuing the Stanford prison experiment and torturing and abusing Canadians and killing them too, by the way. And so that's actually happening. And so that's why myself and the select few that are still trying to fight in the courts and lost everything destroyed. Okay, women like Helen Bruce. I'm sharing you examples that are literally in the courts that you can Google yourself and actually go as part of the court hearings and support her. But has anyone? No, not yet. A handful of people. Canada has 39 million people on or around approximately. And not one goddamn person other than me, like especially last year, was there for her open hearing in support, even though she was sharing medical, scientific, and government data to her chain of command at risk to herself. But again, she was a professional, and countless others like that I can't even name their names yet. But in the courts, women, I'm saying in their middle-aged women that everyone wants to slam. White middle-aged women too, by the way, I'll add, again, like not to make more division and stuff like that, but since we're getting fucking hated on the most in the world, white men thinking it's them. No, you're actually causing a lot of fucking harm in Canada, okay? And I'm going to get into that because there's men that have been watching my stories now and or talking with me on Signal for over 4 years now, or for the last few years, and not even once. Special forces, high-ranking people, officers and senior NCOs, not even once have these fucking betas sent any of the information to their chain of command. So, and they don't care that Wayne Eyre, the chief of defense staff, and the vice CDS and stuff like that they're able to resign honorably this summer and in the next year, because they still want their money, right? Because they get paid like $150,000-$250,000 a year. Special forces guys and girls and stuff like that, but it's mostly guys and the higher ups, generals and stuff like that. I was giving information to them and their chain of command and people that should have been pushing this information, not because I'm in that chain, I'm in that network. I was special forces. I was second in command of a squadron not too fucking long ago. And the people that took my place, I've also known for over 20 fucking years. And unfortunately, in the last 2 or 3 years, because of Ukraine and Russia, which I was warning this person about, that as well, in the pandemic, totally was fighting, drinking the fucking Kool-Aid, and part of the Stanford prison experiment being the dirty cop, the dirty guard, right? So instead of taking the information, did nothing fucking with it, didn't bring it up to where it was supposed to go. And I was even saying to these people, like even last week, I was saying like, look, you need to let me have a meeting with your fucking chain of command, okay? Because they're not listening to anything, you know what I mean? And literally, I'm like, you fucking know me, know that even when I was serving in uniform, that I was giving breaking information even then, and really good at my fucking job. So like maybe at the very least, and not pushing this up because they don't want to rock the boat and saying, oh, I can't wait till the Liberals get voted out next year. This is Canada right now, and I'm saying this because I'm telling you, over 4 years now, them having access to this information, Parliamentary Protective Services, law enforcement, OPS, obviously, I've named names of people that I've known for years that are literally getting fucking assaulted and attacked and charged, and families and everything like that as well, by people from within. All right. So these guys that are taking my information just to red pill girls to fuck, okay, and impress, and not doing anything with it, like doing your jobs, I'm upset because I've like, again, over 22 years now service, 15 years as an infantry officer, and then I incorporated working with the highest levels of government, including the Five Eyes community, and turn their back on the fucking truth and the reality and facts. And so there's people that I've cut out of my life in the last few years that are still in uniform, that have not got kicked out. They've got promoted. They get to travel on our fucking dime and time and stuff like that, but that are actually killing Canadians and aiding and abetting harm and the torture and suffering as well, right? Including myself. I've told them, and I asked for protection because my home was targeted. This is all on the record. I have the videos and the filed reports, right? So trying to break into my fucking home, circling my block, boot prints on my back patio, step like right at my kitchen when it's a gate, like in my like a little gate from my yard, trying to take pictures of me and following me on my dog trails, even half an hour away without even fucking dogs, being in an Audi, a white Audi, blacked out rear windows and in place for hours because the snowplow had gone, and that was the only fucking parking area where there was someone in it, and it was the only one where there wasn't any plow touching it. So it had clearly been a few hours. And then when I parked, I wanted to make an assessment, so I did park close because I'm not a fucking pussy like these people that I fucking talk to, men in service that are, by the way, even one of these guys is 6'4", and like no wife, no children, doesn't want any of that, just wants to fuck women and travel the fucking world looking like a fucking hero, even though he's not. And fuck you too, because if he's watching, because he watches some of my stories, as of yesterday, we're not friends anymore because I'm done with it. Because he's the one that literally said, I can't wait till the Liberals get voted out and Pierre gets in, it's gonna change everything. And I can't wait till Wayne gets to resign. Yeah, and then he's gonna resign, and just like the other fucking people I know in the community, he's gonna get hired to be on a security contract or consulting contract because he's so fucking amazing and so much good experience and led Canada during the fucking pandemic and the fucking illegal invasion that's going on right now in fucking Ukraine, proxy fucking war, money laundering, biolab fucking hosting fucking corrupt country with political and religious prisoners there as well. And it's just gonna be a rant today, honestly, because I'm so fucking disgusted in Canada. And tomorrow is the new censorship bills that are coming out. So myself and others like me have the potential now to be imprisoned for life or more charges and fucking all that other stuff from corrupted, uniformed, dirty guards that are enabling and supporting fucking corruption within Canada, that are actually going after people like me instead of doing their fucking jobs and taking this information that I'm sharing and actually doing something fucking with it. I'm so fucking sick because like literally all these cowards have to do is literally just send the information up. It's literally like I've given them memorandums like 10 pages long, 100 pages long of like assessments on like the fucking pandemic and what like the combat estimates about what's going on in fucking Europe and all these other areas. And I was literally the only fucking one to the fucking T on point accurate. And I don't have a fucking army of fucking intelligence officers and informants and field teams and stuff like that. I'm a one-person show, and I'm fucking embarrassing people like Wayne Eyre on a regular basis. And yet he gets to honorably get like released, and there's probably gonna be a nice little fucking award ceremony for him as well, and a release ceremony, and then he's gonna get a fucking contract with, I won't even name their names, with people I know personally that are private security companies or do the international stuff, and they get a lot of fun, a lot of, you know, they're doing a job that I want to do. But because like they're riding on the backs of cowards and liars, right? They're pushing like make sure you get booster number 8. Gotta support Ukraine. Fucking Russia is like they're fucking the enemy. Melanie Joly and Bill Blair and Justin Trudeau, they're telling the fucking truth, and Pierre Poilievre. Yeah. So I don't have any friends left and people within, Canada has fallen, and anyone that was trying to hold the line and or share information, they're already kicked out. They're already fired. I even said like a friend of mine that like over 20 years I've known her, and she was pregnant and or within that period of time just kicked out within like the 2 months, because she would anyways, and kicked out while pregnant or just gave birth within like a month or two, and being tortured and harassed for over 2 years before getting kicked out. And she's fighting this in the courts with a newborn alone, and another army officer that she had married. They're divorced because he was trying to force her to get vaccinated because he wanted her to, I don't know, like keep her fucking job. Like you are the provider and the protector, first of all, and so like you shouldn't be pushing her. And she was almost 40 years old at the time, high risk, first fucking pregnancy. You shouldn't be risking her. What the fuck is wrong with you, psychopath? Which is why she's divorced now. These are the men in uniform. Divorcing them because they're pieces of shit slime balls. Not all of them, but there's a lot of antidote I have out there for me and other fucking women I know. Trust me. So these conservative men that are not married, don't have kids, cheat on their fucking wives, or abusers and stuff like that, they like to talk about trans leftist fucking movements. Well, you're just as bad, and actually you're more destructive. Because you're the ones that are pushing in the communist fucking regime stuff and allowing the invaders and the colonizers to come in, and you're doing nothing fucking about it. And who's getting impacted? Women first, children first, the illegal invaders going in and raping and killing women. Do you care about that? No, you don't, because you don't care about fucking anyone. People in uniform pretending to serve and protect, and they're doing the opposite, really fucking infuriate me. And the reason why I'm triggered about this is because I'll reiterate, I loved someone, okay? We never did anything intimately remotely at all during like in uniform or anything like that. Very fucking professional. Someone I loved blew up overseas during my fucking deployment, and I blamed myself for many years because I had just finished a major battle group operation in and around that area, and it was literally within like a week or two of of me getting back to CAF because I was supposed to go on HLTA, which is leave, like a bit of a fucking break, and he blew up just before Christmas. And I was there for the Merck report and stuff like that, with like the mechanisms of injury and stuff like that in the 9-liner. And anyway, and then buried other people as well during ramp ceremonies, and since then too with people that have committed suicide or other. And these are the heroes that we should be honoring. People that I've known personally, people that I buried. And so fuck these fucking pussies in Canada now who are just getting, the ones that are getting information from me too. That's the fucking insult, because I am the best international security analyst there is. And I have been sharing things at risk to myself now for the last few years, and stuff that I can't even talk about yet. Further harassed and tortured by people within uniform because of sharing what I've shared. People from within going against me as well, again, and I'm just fucking sick of it. So I'll just keep on. Anyways, Canadian military remains unaccountable for their actions. And I just had another conversation with someone serving who thinks it's okay that the CDS and VCDS get to retire honorably, full pensions this summer and within the next year, respectively, and likely get a private sector job in the Y figures. I've got to edit that, but in the 6 figures or 7 figures, while Helen Bruce will still be fighting charges in court. So Helen, it's been over 2 years she's been fighting charges in court because of fucking pieces of shit like Wayne Eyre and Peter Slowly, who was the chief of police, pussy, and now Bell, pussy, that's continuing this narrative that is bullshit. And I'll get into the COVID, more facts about COVID and the bullshit around it after I finish my vent. But so she'll still be in the courts and she's over $100,000 in debt now, her own money, fighting these fucking freaks like Wayne Eyre. Okay, but for him to be able to like again honorably be released when I have fucking friends that have been dishonorably discharged for giving medical, scientific, and government data to these fucking pricks, yeah, I have a fucking problem with that. And if you don't have a problem with that, you are a fucking psycho too. No offense, but it's a fucking reality. And she's trying to keep her job and pension. And her only crime was sharing medical, government, and scientific data to her chain of command, who are guilty of withholding evidence that would have saved the lives of countless individuals in Canada alone. How many excessive deaths are we at right now since the vaccine rollout? Another friend was dishonorably charged while pregnant with over 21 years service and no pension. Still in the courts fighting alone with a newborn because she became divorced through the nightmare as well, because her army husband got the shots and wanted her to potentially kill her first baby ever, and was a high-risk pregnancy due to age alone. I have thousands of stories like this, including myself also being outcast and terrorized by the very same people who failed the Stanford prison experiment hard and should be investigated and fired immediately. If a friend and peer says that he is okay with Wayne Eyre being allowed to go without getting investigated or countless war crimes included, anyway, that ruined my day yesterday. I cried all day, all night. I'm not going to lie. I am a woman. This is hard. I am someone that has trauma, that has been of service to Canada for many fucking years. And it's, yeah, you just got to look at my videos for the fucking proof. I'm just so disheartened at, like, they're all fucking cowards to me. Like, I'm just so disappointed. And so many people are so fucking disappointed. They're all criminals, in my opinion. And this guy I'm talking about, a high-ranking fucking special forces, he's a coward to me. And I hope that he does get fired and dishonorably discharged. But he won't.
200.
Because no one knows who the fuck he is. But I'll name him in the courts, though. I said that today on my social media. I'm all over the fucking place. But I literally have said, anyone that's been watching my fucking content, that's in uniform in Canada and had the ability to fucking send this information to up higher, or that I've been on Signal or Telegram with, or Proton Mail or whatever. If I've sent you data and you did not send it up, you are going to be part of the fucking lawsuit, and you are literally guilty of treason and high crimes and harm and suffering and death of Canadians and others, because you're also responsible for what's going on, supporting and enabling what's going on in fucking Ukraine right now too, and Gaza, in Palestine.
Active and retired military personnel released a document called the Declaration of...
The people that are not doing anything in uniform, sorry, that's who I'm talking about. Because you're paid. You're not paid to do what you're told. You're paid to fucking serve and protect and uphold the fucking law and the Hippocratic Oath and all that other stuff. The stuff that you're not doing anymore. Yeah, that's the stuff you're supposed to be doing.
Military accountability. And the point was to inform the rest of us that the U.S. military is in fact being destroyed by the people who run it and is in fact a threat to the nation. Quote, we hereby apprise the American people that we have exhausted all internal efforts to rectify recent criminal activity within the armed forces. While implementing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, military leaders broke the law, trampled constitutional rights, denied informed consent, permitted unwilling medical experimentation, and suppressed the free exercise of religion. Service members and family were significantly harmed by these actions. Their suffering continues to be felt financially, emotionally, and physically. These leaders refuse to resign or take any other action to hold themselves accountable, nor have they attempted to repair the harm their policies and
the policies have caused. No one, people that I know personally that are still high-ranking, senior NCOs and officers in positions where they're supposed to be doing something with this information, I want to spit in their fucking faces. But again, now that's assault. I'm just saying, this is just like, it's just disgusting to me that they've caused harm and death of Canadians, children, women, and stuff like that, and they don't give a fuck because they're too busy with their own fucking drama, or literally just trying to further exploit us. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're just red pilling women with my information just to fuck them, you're a psychopath. Jordan Peterson also says it. So, and also should be fucking fired from your job because you're not worthy of the uniform. I get so mad because I've dealt with this my whole life. Even like I was the first female infantry officer in the history of the fucking regiment. And when you refuse like sexual advances and stuff like that as well, or try to call people out on what they're doing, oftentimes they get very fucking crazy.
And actions have caused. Since there is yet to be any account.
The extremes I'm talking about, like not the bell curve with the majority. I'm talking about the extremes, the extreme left and right ends of the behavioral spectrum. Just to be clear. But there's more of those types that do navigate towards first responder type jobs, like the military, like the infantry. So that's also something that we need to be aware of, right? So even in university, before I was officially like part of a battalion, watching the Stanford prison experiments was honestly like, I was like, if I ever question being the first female infantry officer in the Patricias with what I know, with what I think is going to be going on there, like in the near future, I'm like, I more now than ever, I was like, I fucking need to be in, man, because like I had already had life experiences of of dealing with people that were the bully types, crazy types, and maybe, yeah. And so I was just like, there needs to be, you know, if a woman can actually meet these standards to be in these positions, then it's absolutely something that is necessary to give that second opinion, right? From a different energetic source, if that makes any sense. I talk about the duality and the balance within the cosmos. That's also needed in a system of governance when you're governing over an entire fucking country. That involves women and children and the elderly, right? Like you need to have like another opinion, right? Because oftentimes men, especially, they are the more aggressive types. They commit the more violent crimes. I know people don't want to hear that, whereas women are more easily swayed and duped, tricked, or threatened or forced into doing things they don't want to do by the stronger sex because they don't want to have the repercussions, right? They don't want to be killed, raped, or abused by the stronger of the sexes physically, right? I would argue that emotionally, women are a lot stronger than men. And that is also a huge factor, right? Like, and it doesn't, like one doesn't, isn't better than the other. These are all incredibly beneficial and also things that need to be like harmonized within a relationship.
Accountability. The undersigned give our word to do everything morally permissible and legally possible to hold our own leadership accountable.
That's great. I don't know why people are, you got vaccinated though. Didn't you, Tuck? Yeah, you did it. So, I mean, for me, it's like, who cares if people are vaccinated or not? Because of like the $1 trillion psyops that was put forward for that. And so like, there's no fucking blame of people that did. It's what they did afterwards with new information or with the real facts.
Canadian taxpayers.
That matters. And Tucker Carlson, since he further investigated, he has since for at least, I think I want to say at least a year, like maybe 2 years, he's been speaking out against the therapeutics and stuff like that. And he's also spoke about January 6th way more than any other paid independent journalist in the US and other things as well. So I don't know if he's controlled up or not. I have no idea. All I know is that if he wants to be or not, there is information that he shares, whether it be privately, where he knows it's not private anymore, or publicly. People can use that information either, for the benefit of humanity or for the fall of humanity, right? And so he's getting the information out there that I think is necessary. Not always perfect with it. But again, call me. Like if you want the fucking best of the best, I've literally shown on the record I am not vaccinated, and I am someone that was there at the very beginning talking about the lab leak. I was at the very beginning. You can look at my freaking records from my social media that didn't get taken down, luckily, miraculously. But I actually had to redo. Anyways, I had to do things to work out getting my Instagram back up that was deactivated. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm not going to get too much into that stuff, but even with the Manitoba spies, no filter me, Chinese spies that were here, whether they knew they were spies or not, but they were also complicit in the lab leak and stuff like that, and that's all coming out now over 4 years later. And it's because people actually had this information, like the people that I've been fucking giving the data to on Signal and Telegram and messages and phone calls and meetings and all over social media and Rumble and YouTube and LinkedIn. You had the information. I know people within Wayne Air's staff. That's the thing. He's the chief of defense staff. These fucking people were clowns. They had this information. They knew this information, and instead they were fucking me off. Even personally fucking me off, calling me crazy and all this other stuff, a tinfoil hat wear, a white supremacist. Even though my career I outperformed them in every fucking way. This is going to get you too. Go Canada. Now they're lying about masks. Fisman's fraud is out again. And Fisman, Canadian. And I think Ontario as well. And so also someone that is a failure in the Stanford prison experiment should be investigated and fired immediately. And once he's investigated, likely going to get jail. Or likely would get jail, especially if law enforcement or the investigators or the legal teams prosecuting Fisman, if they had the information that I have, he would be in jail for life. And that's why I'm the most censored person in Canada, even on Rumble.
Has funded another hate science study by the same doctor who published a fraudulent study showing that the unvaccinated were a threat to the vaccinated. This is something we spoke about last month with Dr. Regina Wattil. She's the author of the book Fisman's Fraud. We spoke about how her book was pointing out that the Canadian government commissioned a study to use fictitious models to justify vaccine mandates. As her book has been taking off in the last month, the same scientist has now published a study about the efficacy of masks, which is not based on real world data, which he could have, but instead he used models. So we're going to try and go through it, see if the Canadian government will try this again with the same Dr. Regina Wattil who joins us today. Thank you for coming back on Redacted.
Oh, thanks for having me here, Natalie. My pleasure.
Okay, so since you have been on Redacted, your book has become a #1 bestseller on Amazon, which is super exciting. So people are starting to notice that the Canadian government used fake science to put in place COVID policies. Since then, the same guy, David Fisman, published another study about masks. Can you take us through it? Because it's a convoluted study. It almost reads like fiction.
Well, it is a very difficult study to understand, Natalie. And the researchers came up with some pretty inventive, unconventional techniques to get the results they wanted. So this study was difficult, not just for the layperson, but even scientists are scratching their heads wondering what these researchers did. And I had to read this study several times to really get the full picture. So I'll start by saying that whenever you have a observational.
Well, first of all, before you do that, what is their big conclusion? That's masks work to curb the transmission? That they work really well. Okay.
Highly effective.
And people think that, did anyone in the Stanford prison experiment step down? None of them did. And look how crazy it got after 3 days, I'll reiterate, with all men involved. The one woman that came in 3 days later is literally what potentially saved people's lives, because it was escalating for this behavioral study that was supposed to be 2 weeks. I keep on reiterating, when throughout history have there been corrupted officials in uniform that have ever willingly resigned or stepped down? None. And I give the Stanford experiments and Universe 25 stuff to, again, high-ranking senior NCOs, officers in all uniforms, law enforcement and military and stuff like that, and repeatedly over the years. Because again, Stanford prison experiments, like I shared this, even last year, the year before that, and I'll continue to do it because it's not fucking stopping. And if people think that there's going to be an election when clearly these people that are still in the same positions, okay, just further escalating and seeing us further as criminals and themselves as the prison guards, or us as the prisoners and them as the prison guard, like this is the narrative now. This is how they're behaving, even though we're not criminals. This is the psycho part, right? We need the people in uniform to realize, hi, just like that imaginary fucking Stanford prison experiment, like behavioral study, those people were not prisoners either. And look how they were treated. These were literally innocent people that volunteered for this experiment. And and so like there are people that are innocent civilians that are being harmed and killed in Canada still. And we still have people in, like, I can't, and they're not going to step down. And people think that Pierre is going to be the answer as well, when he was also pushing the vaccine mandates and forced inoculations at the beginning, and he's still pushing fucking Russia, Ukraine. He has no idea what's going on in war. So that's fucking dangerous. He has zero idea what's actually going on with this whole climate change thing either. Or with Israel, Palestine, or with 9/11, or with January 6th, or the Freedom Convoy, or fucking anything. So no, he's not the one for the job either. He's been a career cabinet member who's never actually had a fucking physical job or any job or work experience in the security and defense industry at all. So how the fuck can he be the prime minister, or Justin Trudeau, part-time drama teacher, when none of these people have any experience? I'll reiterate, like in things like I have experiences in with the security and defense, stuff like that, and the advanced psychology stuff, and like the anyway, zero experience. I'm like, I can't wait till Pierre gets in. Can't wait. Yeah. And you think that he's not going to push the same fucking censorship bills? So now what they're doing is they're continuing. So the Emergency Act was illegally declared during the Freedom Convoy. So that just came out. That's official. Like as of over 2 years later, it's finally like, no shit, it was declared illegally. And people actually did have legitimacy in ending the fucking mandates and stopping the forced inoculations. What a concept. Still the same people in. If there's an election, Justin Trudeau and the radicals that are in cabinet know that their time is up and that they're going to be fired and that they're going to be investigated and the emails are going to be looked through and the call logs. They know, right? That's why they've been switching fucking departments and stuff like that within cabinet and shuffling and not having people actually get fired. And people that resign, it was honorable, like Marco Mendicino, like he didn't lose his pension. He didn't lose his fucking salary. He didn't get dishonorably discharged. He can work in other jobs within government, you know, or go back to being a fucking shady lawyer. But people that I know that were way better than him and actual like experience in the security and defense industry, like Helen Bruce, women, and my friend who was an army officer for over 20 years, dishonorably discharged while pregnant because of Marco fucking Mendicino and the men in uniform that allowed that to fucking happen. And Alex fucking Braden, a lawyer, a legal team now, or part of a legal team now. I don't think he's an actual lawyer, but he's part of the legal team. Not an actual military service person or first responder type, but actually said, "Don't let the door kick you on the way out." To my friend on social media, so everyone to fucking see it. And for anyone else that was forced to be released because of not declaring their vaccination status, being the actual heroes, not because they were pussies, because the pussies that took the information and didn't send it to their chain of commands, and or were enforcing the fucking crazy shit. You're the pussies. Because you were too afraid to go against your chain of command and rock the boat. You were just too busy exploiting the people that were taking the stand. I have more fucking balls. Like multiple men, like again, men that were infantry, that are still infantry officers or special forces or fucking like and all this other stuff. And I'm like, not one of these guys, they're still working. They've not tipped the boat. They haven't even like, they're still going along with COVID mandates and measures, still wearing the fucking mask. All that stuff, and like everywhere they go, maybe even their fucking cars, and like still going to Ukraine, still going to fucking other places. Even though Russia warned against that in retaliation, so like now we have our fucking law enforcement men and women that are now further escalating tensions and further risking the lives of Canadians. Because if you don't know what's going on in the fucking world, check my channel. A lot of hours of information to get through because you've been lied to. Oh,
effective, saved lots of lives and lots of monetary benefits. So overall, they're saying that masking is a huge success.
Okay.
So when you have an observational study,
and I will say with the mask as well, like I get frustrated. There's a difference between 0.1 macrons and 0.3 macrons, and the size. So the particles, the masks that are being used, do not filter out. Like you still spread COVID. Because because of the size of the particles themselves, it's proven, measurable, testable. It even says on the COVID mask boxes that I even shared. That was even my sister. She showed me from Quebec. It even says does not prevent the spread of COVID. It's for water and blood droplets and saliva from like being transmitted. But if you are not symptomatic and you're not like having sinus issues or whatever like that, then you don't fucking need it.
Making those kind of claims that is highly effective,
and especially if you're alone. Like, who are you? Like, what?
At curbing transmission, and you've got massive benefits. Then it's highly likely there's something either wrong with the data or the methodology or the interpretation of their study. So in this case, we have problems with all three, and it's it's not really a surprise given who conducted the study. This study was written by 5 researchers out of the University of Toronto. And as you mentioned, David Fisman was one of the main authors, as was Ashley Tweet. Both
Toronto's a couple hours west of me. And not a surprise, not a fucking surprise. And I keep on telling people, this is March 3rd, 2024. This is still happening in Canada. Tomorrow, they're further trying to put bills together to make people that are sharing the truth criminals. And I'm trying to tell that to my fucking numbnuts friends in uniform. I'm like, you don't understand. There are people that are not criminals, just like the Freedom Convoy, that these crazy people that have showed this time and time again that they will absolutely harm and kill their own citizens. There's fucking proof everywhere. You're telling me that like You're not even going to share this information to your chain of command to like possibly stop this from happening, because as of tomorrow, who knows how many people will possibly get arrested or charged further by the Gestapo fucking Nazi police in Canada now. Because anyone that's enforcing this stuff, you are a literal Nazi. You are a literal European Nazi. And yes, I said what I said, because not all of them killed people. A lot of them, again, were just enforcing and enabling the crazy fucking dictatorship rules that not even rules. Again, it was like their own scripts that they made up that like had nothing to do with their fucking position. I'm pretty sure the job requirements for Chrystia Freeland is not to do what she's fucking doing, or Justin Trudeau. I'm pretty sure it's not in there in the job description. I don't think it's in PDR Part 1. When Canadians don't like that you're lying to them, make policies to make them criminals. Yeah. We are literally North Korea levels, and I still have dumb fucks. Again, I have over 20 years fucking service that was literally wasted. Literally fucking wasted. No husband, no fucking kids. Gonna like live a fucking lone. Might even get fucking murdered. Might be suicided. You know, that's probably more fucking likely. And then also to be seen as a fucking criminal in Canada because of being a fucking hero. Literally backwards year.
Both of those worked on the fraudulent science that was used to scapegoat unvaccinated Canadians.
Thank you, friends, for help.
So both of them worked on this study along with 3 other colleagues.
And if I go to jail or get charged, is anyone going to give me any fucking money or help me with the court fees or anything like that? If I'm in prison for life, any lawyers or any fucking like any of my friends that know that I've risked my fucking life and buried like people that I've loved overseas in war, being of service to Canada, at home and abroad. Anyone going to help me? Fuck no. Fuck no. Do they help Helen Bruce? Fuck no. Do they help fucking my other friend? Fuck no. And so many fucking others. But they keep wanting us to fucking share information though, because these are still the same people that they try to share information with me, even though most of I'm infuriated. And so maybe I'm just going to start blocking people too that are in uniform, that are clearly working against us.
So I'm just going to take you through, there's 3 big issues with this study. So first, it has to do with the data they used. So they didn't completely fabricate the data like they did last time. Last time, when they were scapegoating the unvaccinated, they used a computer model simulation to simulate fake data that showed unvaccinated were a greater risk.
Which was all
this time, they look at Ontario data in 2020. So when you look at the pandemic, it was called in the winter months, at the end of winter in 2020. Then in the summer, municipalities in Ontario started bringing in mask mandates. But even though mask mandates were in play, you still seen a rise in COVID cases into the fall, and especially as you head towards winter. But at that point, the researchers stopped their observational period. But even so, you see that in the fall with mask mandates in the recorded data, the cases were higher than the pre-mask period in the first wave.
Surprise, surprise.
So this is where things get really interesting. So the researchers claim that the recorded cases were a lot lower than what really happened. That if Ontario had actually done more testing, especially with younger individuals, then more cases would have been recorded. So they invent this new method to estimate the cases that would have been recorded had Ontario done this extra testing. So they apply a formula to the real data to inflate the data, but they inflate the data especially before the masking in the first wave.
So they're basically giving you an uncertainty principle, saying it would have been worse.
Mhm.
And so we are considering these high case numbers a success because we want to.
Well, they're basically saying, here's the real data, but the real data is an undercount. So we're just going to inflate those numbers using our method to what we think are the real cases. And then they inflate the numbers in the first wave more so than in the fall after the mandates. So if you look at the data in the first wave, they increase those case counts by up to 25 times what we actually recorded.
Oh, it was more than
depending on the
she's
week.
being very nice.
And then after masks were introduced, they inflated up to 4 times as much. So now it looks like the first wave was way higher than that second one, and that mask did something.
We're just we're going to take the numbers we don't like and multiply them by 25, and then take the numbers we do and multiply them by less. And that proves our point. Okay. Do you think that the real world data about masking already shows us that this is not true?
Well, you do have an increase in cases after the masking occurred. But the story gets even funnier when you look at what the modelers did next, because they did something that I have really never seen before. They now take those fudged data, right, and they fit a model to that fudged pretend data and pretend it has validity. So then they're not really looking at the real data anymore. They're using their pretend numbers, what they think is the real case, and they're modeling it. And this is the second problem with their model. They fit this model that is quite useless. They put factors in there that make the model difficult to interpret. And if you were to extend this model past 2020, it would completely fall apart. And just to give you an indication.
Because she's friggin' great and I love her and I've been sharing her stuff, but I also share my own stuff, right? And this is the stuff that I've been sharing since 2021 to all levels of government, including people in uniform that are taking my information and not giving it to their chain of command because they're cowards. And fuck them. Because since 2021, there's been a lot of fucking excess deaths and that you're responsible for. And Helen Gruss trying to fucking save lives. Oh my God. And the men that went against her, and the women, I'm just so disgusted in them. I'm just so disgusted because you had the fucking info. I'm going to go down a list here too. So this is from Pfizer only. So not even Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, or any of the other ones. This is Pfizer reported in February of 2021. So over 3 years ago now, infections and infestations, the VAERS that were reported, which only 3 to 5% of the VAERS are actually reported. Okay. And again, this is only Pfizer. And this is just up until February of 2021. People through the vaccine contracted COVID-19. How many? 4.6% of the VAERS that we reported were people that contracted COVID-19 via inoculation minimum. And you could probably times that by a fucking lot and then double it because of Moderna, at least double it because of Moderna, adding in Moderna, J&J, and AZ and the other ones. So there you got COVID and other names for it too. Again, people getting flu from the shot. Why is that? Why? There's can you see this one? Autism. Over 2 years now. The lock date was, not over 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now. So it was the 16th of March was the lock date. So this is just Pfizer. And again, 3 to 5% of the VAERS were actually reported during this time because of the financial incentive to roll these vaccines out. And they didn't care about the harm and death of people. So I was sharing this in February of 2021 to the dumb bitch, Chrystia Freeland. And I got the acknowledgement that it was sent to her office, and I called to follow up and talk to people on the phone, gave my email address to make sure, hey, did you see it? You might get a couple of emails a week. So, and I gave my resume and my address, my phone number, all that stuff. The same thing with every single member of cabinet, public health officials all over Canada, all media outlets, every fucking one of them, the health experts, all levels of government, giving this out, and they did fucking nothing with it. Autism. Okay. Also a VAERS underreported as well. So you've got that. What else? Yeah. She was talking about the reports from Ontario Public Health. I showed that information too. And I was also one of the first people to, and it was only in March of last year of 2023 that they actually started officially reporting things more accurately instead of the over reporting and under reporting techniques fucking slimy tactics that they were using. So I'm just looking through my my data here. Where is it? Is it up here? Yeah, okay. Stop sharing and I will share. It's so many, and herpes and measles, by the way, were also VAERS that were reported. And so people are talking about measles. Well, was it a vaccine side effect? Adjust for potential underreporting of deaths by increasing reported deaths by 50%. So they already started with that. And then they actually overreported beyond that. This is terrifying. And they were talking the estimated detection, the actual reported cases, and the actual what they estimated for the detections. I've already shared this. It would blow your fucking mind. And there's no children that died from COVID. Bonnie Henry and Dina Hinshaw tried to lie. Actually, they didn't try to lie. They did lie, and they got caught lying by me and other people like me. You're welcome. Trying to claim that like a young boy that had stage 4 cancer, that he had died from COVID. No, he died of fucking cancer, you freaks. You fucking Karen psycho freaks. You also failed the Stanford prison experiment. Congratulations. Public record for life. People will know that you are a fucking Nazi. Yeah, so detected attack rates per 100,000, 169. Somehow almost 20,000 estimated. How the fuck? So like that's a bajillion. Like not even like not even 175 cases, like 169, and that's how, like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And the answer is yes. And I could go down the list, but like that's just a fucking proof. Like I had this, I shared this. It's now archived. And I shared this with all levels of government as well. May 17, 2020. I got so much more information I can fucking share, but I have in other videos. But yeah, everyone in government has this information now. They're just like, oh, you're just a right wing white supremacist. You're just a conspiracy theorist. No, you're just a crazy psychopath that's allowing people to die in Canada, including women and children, and you're disgusting for that, and elderly.
This is more of a nerdy thing. I look at it and they fit like a cubic time trend. And what that means is if you were to extend this model out a few years, it would be a wonder anyone in Ontario would be left standing.
Okay.
Yep.
It's truly
like
apocalyptic.
A good math joke.
Yeah, it is. And you look at, but to be fair, they don't extend it past 2020 because it's absurd.
Right.
So they fit this fake data to a model, and then they misinterpret the model to get the results they want.
Okay. So because these are powerful people, your worry that this
including Wayne Eyre, the chief of defense staff, like he created Can4 Gens. He created policies to target and go after anyone that was unvaccinated or that didn't want to disclose their vaccine status or didn't want to impose vaccines on their on their subordinates.
will be used to reinstate mask mandates at any given time.
Well, it's being used to justify mask mandates. So certainly they're making the case as to why we should use them in a pandemic. And like you said, this was co-funded by the Ontario government, but also the Institute for Pandemics. So if you recall from the book, I mentioned how FISMIN has been promoted to lead the modeling unit in the Institute for Pandemics. And they seek to be a global leader in helping the world.
Yay! And we still have Bill Blair in. We still have all the same fucking people in cabinet and Senate. And all their experts are all literally Anita Anand included. All these fucking corrupted criminals. Fun. But don't worry, there'll be an election. Yeah. And your candidate is the right one.
World through the next
Oh my
pandemic. God. So this study was actually published in the United States in an American journal. And this study was actually presented at a public health seminar at Yale University. So I guess the Canadian researchers are helping the US understand the benefits of masking.
Now, just this week in Australia, the Supreme Court has ruled that vaccine mandates were against the Constitution, that they were illegal. And so now Australia is going to be hit with a slew of litigation for people who lost their jobs and lost a lot during vaccine mandates. So in those cases, this is me guessing, it's possible that when governments go to defend these policies, such as mask mandates, they can use studies like this in their litigation. And that's why these might be useful, because the rest of us can maybe see through it and be grateful that there's no mask mandates in place right now. But do you think that provides a use value for these types of studies?
It for sure does. And even in Canada, we have a lot of studies, even by FISMAN, that are being used in legal proceedings to penalize those who did not follow the pandemic measures and to justify what the government did. So since I was on Redacted last, I have been contacted by lawyers who are defending people who are in legal proceedings, including—
You guys need to fucking call me. And I keep on saying this to people because everyone assumes that lawyers or people like have access to the same information that I have. A lot of them don't, because even Miller and stuff like that, like during the Emergency Act hearings and stuff like that, I sent so much information, and they even confirmed that they were reviewing it and stuff like that. And literally, anyway, things changed. In fact, within hours of that, like he was actually kicked out of court, and obviously, like I don't think it had anything to do with that, but I'm just saying it's just like sometimes there's coincidences, and it just makes you think. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this was for Public Health Ontario. It's even the title. In 2021, information that I was compiling together and putting together and then trying to explain. So I had already talked about the poor practices. The original trials were debunked. I shared that from reputable sources. This was from the British Medical Journal, ladies and gentlemen. Not YouTube, not CTV fucking news. And increases in COVID-19 unrelated to levels of vaccination status across countless regions. That was a big one, I thought. Another big one, 71% of COVID-19 deaths are in the vaccinated as of 7 September 2021. And I showed the technical brief as well and gave all the fucking, this is a technical brief, ladies and gentlemen, out of the UK government. Open source, clearly, obviously. And you should be looking at this information. I give the comparisons about natural immunity being better. And COVID-19, so literally specifically regarding this fucking, virus, whatever you want to call it, gain of function virus. I gave the mathematics and the calculations of how I even came up with that number. I gave literally, you can't fucking make this up. I'm trying to zoom in. Move. Anyway, just to show you the 21 days post dose and over 21 days post dose. So calculating all of it and then giving them the numbers. You're welcome. I even say the chief medical officer in Ontario admits to vaccine ineffectiveness and breakthrough cases and that masks don't work. And that was August 31st, 2021. You know when I sent this to fucking government? The day after or 2 days after? This is what I mean. I don't mess around. I am literally the fucking best of the best. I don't mean to fucking say this, but this is Kieran Moore. Who is not a real fucking doctor, not an expert, literally needs to be investigated and jailed for fucking life. Not Helen Bruce, what she's going through right now. It's disgusting because of a fucking slimy piece of shit like this. They were already talking about the breakthrough cases occurring. And fully vaccinated individuals had similar levels of infection. I was talking about the spontaneous abortions. I was talking about provisional death counts and excess mortality in Canada just from January 2020 to April 2021. Just for a record, just to see post anyway. This was this was over three this is and I've updated since then. I'm just showing you an archived one. More of natural immunity superior to COVID. aspirating needles. I was talking about that, how we were not aspirating needles and how it was the difference between intramuscular versus intracellular. I was talking about the waning immunity from all the COVID vaccines and that they don't last and that the white blood cells were being impacted. And I was talking about an Ontario policy on inflating numbers from Public Health Ontario. I was saying this too, viral pneumonia. It's not a globe, but, and I was saying that it was impacting people that were morbidly obese or had comorbid conditions. Like, oh, so much friggin' information. I was talking about the myocarditis and pericarditis following COVID-19 mRNA vaccine in Ontario. Just like in that period alone, again, to get stats, severe illness after vaccination. I was even saying that they were still not FDA approved. 5 to 11-year-olds, like I just couldn't believe. Oh my God. What a nightmare. Ugh. And I was even showing the scientific data on this being hosted. Like there's things that impact like the way people heal via inoculation. It's like things that matter is like it's ingredient dependent and it's host dependent, right? If you're not healthy already, you're going to already have like more adverse outcomes to any injury or illness, whether you even be like a cut, like you're going to heal. It's going to take you longer to heal because your body's already chronically inflamed and you're already like your body's already trying to heal that, right? Especially if you're, someone that is overweight or obese or anyway. So much information. Oh my goodness, just crazy that I was giving this to all levels of government, including people that talk directly to Wayne Eyre. And I even emailed him on his government email address. So, and not a fucking follow-up. So disgusting.
Doctors who are at risk of losing their license because they didn't go along with the pandemic measures and the safe and effective narrative regarding the vaccines.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to since you were last on Redacted, because you did have not only success with your book, but success with lawmakers who are saying, oh, I see this now in a way I hadn't before. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
Right. So there are a small group of politicians here in Canada that are not on board with what the government did. And I have met with them and we're discussing how to proceed and to make changes. So that's promising. Also, since Redacted, a lot of people are more aware of the fraudulent studies that went into justifying the pandemic measures. And like I mentioned, I have been contacted by lawyers and individuals who are in legal proceedings to see how my book can help them in their proceedings. So that's also very promising. The other thing is that when I look at things like the mask mandate and other studies by Fisman, it becomes clear that there is a big pattern here, but he's not the only one fudging the numbers. So I have been looking into other researchers who have fudged the numbers to kind of put the screws to unvaccinated. So in particular, I'm currently working on something that was done by the Ontario Science Table here. And I'm trying to show how they fudged the numbers to put the screws to unvaccinated workers. So that's up and coming. And I'm pretty excited about that one because there's a lot of workers right now who are going after their employers for being terminated or put on leave without pay.
Or they can't find a lawyer.
Now, I did notice that Fisman took notice of some of the media that you've been doing and the success of your book. And he wrote on X that, oh, yes, I remember this conspiracy. Ha ha. It's funny. This is making my paper do better, actually. So it was a very condescending tweet. But it seems to me that maybe he's rattled by this. Have you heard any response other than this kind of dickish tweet?
No, I haven't heard any other response. But that tweet actually made me laugh a little bit because I'm thinking, well, haha, he's laughing now. But I wonder if he'll still be laughing when his papers get completely destroyed in courts,
Yeah.
and he loses all credibility when it comes to anything to do with this pandemic.
But that won't be
So we'll see who's laughing in the end.
aired. That won't be
Okay.
aired, though.
I have,
No.
I would interview him if he wanted to come on Redacted. It's fair for him to defend this. So if it crosses your path, he can come on here and tell us how he came up with these things too. I'm willing to learn and listen. So thank you again for bringing us this data, this hate science, this concept of hate science. And again, Regina's book is Fisman's Fraud. You can find it on Amazon. Give it a review, share it with your friends, and you can follow her on X as well. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you very much, Natalie. It's been a pleasure.
They're both great. They are both great. No, which one is it? Oh, was this? How come it's not coming up? Sorry, I'm talking to myself here. Here we are. Okay. Since I'm on a friggin' Press for Truth friggin' bandwagon now. This guy has so much good stuff. I hope that people like, share, subscribe. I hope he becomes a millionaire this year. He deserves it. But he might actually get arrested too. Yay! As of tomorrow, because even though he's been sharing this information to get people within uniform to do something with it, they still have not. Oh, wait. They're arresting people and beating up grandmothers in streets and stuff like that. That's what they're doing. And jailing grandmothers. And going after veterans.
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and it's official. We can pretty much treat COVID like the flu now. This is according to the Wall Street Journal, because new guidelines from the CDC are bringing COVID precautions in line with those of other respiratory viruses. This is exactly what I've been saying since the very beginning of this thing, that the coronavirus shouldn't be feared any more than the common cold. And I'll remind you that it was outlets like the Wall Street Journal who would suggest that people like myself were potential granny killers for saying that this was the case. And now it's just being widely accepted and is official now. Well, something else that I've been saying all along that is now starting to gain more wider acceptance is this. A study finds that the majority of patients with long COVID were vaccinated. Gee, surprise, surprise. A recent study found that the majority of patients who suffered from long COVID during the time when vaccines and antiviral treatments were widely available were vaccinated. Here's the study, guys. You can check it out for yourself. Long COVID prevalence and its association with health outcomes in the post-vaccine and antiviral availability era. And this is something that I was reporting on way back before this study when I was calling it long vax, the real cause of what these people are suffering through. And in this video from 2023, I was referring to this Science magazine article. Rare link between coronavirus vaccines and long COVID-like illness starts to gain acceptance. Studies probe the unusual cases of neurologic complications, blood pressure swings, and other serious side effects. Like we're talking about stuff like abnormal blood clotting and heart inflammation, right? But now you've got Harvard and Yale scientists who are investigating this new condition dubbed long vax, this debilitating suite of symptoms that are linked to COVID shot that lasts months and resemble long COVID. But scientists are stressing that it's just extremely rare and the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks. But can you guys trust anything they are saying anymore at this point? In fact, the idea of trusting the science in the first place is absolutely insane. Science is something that should be tested over and over, rigorously. It should be looked at with extreme skepticism. It shouldn't be trusted at all. And I hope people are starting to figure that out moving forward. Well, one guy who I think is starting to figure that out, who made that pretty clear in this recent presentation, is this Senator Ron Johnson, who just called out the cover-up that is in progress by the COVID cartel in terms of this so-called long COVID. Check this out. He says, one of the things that's happening right now is as obvious as I think that vaccine injuries are, that the COVID cartel, that they're just explaining it away as long COVID. It's quite the interesting thing he has to say here. So I'm going to play that one for you. I also want to show you the time I attended this pro-mask rally where I interviewed a girl who said she is suffering from long COVID. And when I was just about to ask her if she has received the vaccine and if she thinks it's a potential that this could be caused from it, I didn't even get a chance to because I was cut off by an absolute insane mob. So I'm going to show you all of this, guys, and much, much more in this video. But really quickly, guys, before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Here you can sign up for monthly reoccurring contribution, guys. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. Whatever is within your means is very greatly appreciated. I can't do this work without you. So if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, please check that top link in the description below.
I would hire him as one of my analysts if I ever finally got a freaking job back in government at the highest freaking levels again. Like, I just can't believe this is life right now. Like, this is real life. I'm like, is this real life? Are the people that are actually doing the right things the ones that are being seen as the enemy? Like, this just blows my mind. Just more information. So this, you can search it, but this is William Lily Whiteworth. William was just sentenced to 6 years for plotting several mass shootings at local schools and churches in 2023. William is transgender, owns a copy of Communist Manifesto, and wrote up manifestos. You didn't hear a word about this story because it didn't fit the narrative. Then there's a lot of stories that are not fitting narratives that people are not pushing. And I'm getting really pissed off at people calling Aaron Bushnell a radical or a communist and all this other fucking bullshit. I'm swearing again because I just get so mad. He did something that was extreme in protest in solidarity with Palestinians that are getting genocided right now. And there are monks that have done this throughout history, even recent history, and that is not the title of these friggin' of news reports. It's the fact that he's a white man in uniform, okay, and looks to be more conservative in nature, that he's been like now vilified by all groups, right? Because like he's a white man in uniform doing the right thing. Not the right thing. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna take that back. Like for him it was doing the right thing. He was going against war and murder, because for him, like in uniform, that's what you do. You serve and protect and you defend. You don't do the opposite of that, right? And so for him, it's like, I'm not saying that at all. Like I'm just trying to let you know that there's just so much misinformation regarding that as well, and it really pisses me off. So I shared this today on my social media. So again, this is why, like, I have no fucking friends now. Like, like the whole flat earth stuff as well has already like made me like outcast with my family and stuff like that. It is what it is. But I'm like, if you are in uniform in Canada, and like literally that's most of my peer network, because for over 20 years, my entire adult life, I've been in government or working with government. So like, yeah. If you are in uniform in Canada and I've shared data with you that proves the criminality within all levels of government, or you've watched my stories and content, once my lawsuit finally comes here in Ottawa, I will also be naming you unless you turn this around now. I have the emails, messages, screenshots of proof. You have been part of the problem because you actually have the data from the most reliable source in Canada and you know it. So you either took that data to use against us or are just a coward who only likes having the power of knowing and not acting. And so there's going to be a lot of people in uniform that watch my stories on a regular basis that are going to be offended by that. And at this point, it's been over 4 years. I don't fucking care. You're killing people and you're ruining my fucking country. And there's people that I know personally and that you fucking knew too, that are dead being of service. People can say what they want about the military. We still need one, but they need to be people that are honorable, especially at the fucking top, because the butterfly effect. And it needs to be to serve and protect those that are more vulnerable against the people on the extremes of the behavioral spectrum, along with law enforcement and others as well, with like the CSIS, CSEC, CBSA. I'm not saying that we don't need those as well, but right now, the people that are in, people that I know personally, I'm so disgusted. I'm so disgusted. Because even with COVID, like, you should have known. Okay, this was a biological weapon, whether you like it or not, and a financial weapon that was used on us, and fear and psychological torture, like all stuff that I can prove, and they allowed it, not only allowed it to happen, but oppressed and kicked out and charged and tortured in some cases as well. These are in courts as well, those who spoke out against the dictatorship.
To where you
Just like Adolf Hitler did in the late 1930s, 1938, I believe, when he had over 1,000 people within the German government that were speaking out on it, the people like me and Helen Bruce, he had them executed as soon as he became leader. Now they're just doing things differently. Now they're just going after us, like getting their Gestapo types to intimidate us, to charge us for like random offenses or make things criminal that weren't criminal before.
You can find me right here on
Get other
Subscribe
people
Star.
to
All right, guys, let's start with
segregate
this
themselves from us.
video from this Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, who bravely calls out the COVID cartel for what it is. And he points out what he says is obvious, that these vaccine injuries and so-called long COVID, or so-called long COVID, I should say, is all part of the vaccines. And he says there's a major cover-up happening right now, guys. Check this out.
What we're really battling is the human tendency never to admit you're wrong. So start with members of Congress.
That's crazy.
They all voted for the funding of this. They don't want to ever admit that they voted for wasteful spending. So many of them, again, I was a supporter of Operation Warp Speed until I talked to Dr. Yeadon. Then I started being somewhat cautious about it, okay? But everybody wanted this pandemic to end. So, God, if there's again, I was pushing early treatment, which was, of course, sabotage. But, okay, absent that, man, if there's a vaccine, give it to us. Let's end this pandemic. This is devastating our world. So you had all these members of Congress going out there cutting videos, cute little ditties about getting vaxxed, all type of things. So they were pushing this on their constituents. Doctors pushed it on their patients. They were paid to push it on their patients.
Pregnant
And then,
women.
of course, people took it. I mean, nobody wants to admit that they maybe should have done a little more research, maybe sort of question, maybe listen to some other people before they decided to take this experimental gene therapy. So one of the things that's happening right now is, as obvious as I think vaccine injuries are, the COVID cartel, they're just explaining that as long COVID, right? That's going to explain everything. I mean, it drives me nuts. It's going to drive all of us nuts at how effective they're going to be at this. These are the people that they invented PSYOPs.
It's called vaccine-induced autoimmune disease, or VAIDS. And that's going to be a term that they're going to come out with. I've said this about SADS as well, months before they started coming out with that. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to call this VAIDS. I've been saying this for over 2 years. And it's already, like the VAERS that were reported even in February of 2021. People became immunocompromised. Again, herpes, measles, all that fucking stuff, polio, cancers, fertility issues, blood clots.
Okay, they're good at it. They're the expert at it. And they're the ones that created this monster, right? As Harvey Ernst was talking about, it's obvious this is a man-made virus. It was obvious within months. But look at how good they've been able to cover it up. Now, I'll end on this note in terms of how good. The one agency, the CIA, who probably knows more than anybody in the world about exactly what happened here, funded USAID. They're the one U.S. government agency that's still going, well, we think it came from nature.
Yeah.
That tells you something.
He makes a very good point there, doesn't he? If the CIA is sitting there saying, we think that it comes from nature, well, that definitely should tell you something. I would have to agree. And I think this should tell you something as well, folks, that this new study is just finding that the majority of patients with long COVID were vaccinated. The observational study published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine, researchers interviewed 390 people in Thailand who contracted COVID-19 during the fifth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Omicron variant was dominant. Patients were followed by phone for 3 months after their diagnosis and for a year to monitor their physical condition, their mental health, their sleep disturbances, and their quality of life. Out of the 390 people with COVID-19, 377 of them, that's 97%, were vaccinated. That should say a lot. 383.
Yeah, that's a lot.
98%.
97%. were vaccinated.
Underwent antiviral treatment, and 330 of them, or 78%, developed long COVID syndrome. The most frequently reported symptoms were fatigue and cough. Other reported symptoms included depression, anxiety, poor sleep quality. The study found that patients under age 60 with a cough as an initial symptom were more likely to develop the condition. And in a subset of patients with long COVID, researchers found a notable correlation in females with headaches, dizziness, and brain fog. Despite the extensive distribution of vaccines and antiviral therapies, the prevalence of long COVID remains high, the authors of the paper write. And here they go on to link COVID, long COVID, to these vaccinations. And I think they are essentially suggesting that the vaccines have done nothing to deal with so-called long COVID, but I'm taking it a step further and suggesting that the long COVID was caused by the vaccines itself. Because as you see here, a February report published by the CDC found that more than 8% of the participants in 7 U.S. states reported having experienced long COVID symptoms. In West Virginia, almost 11% of survey participants reported long COVID symptoms. However, the agency did not disclose whether survey respondents were vaccinated. Gee, you think that might have a pretty big thing to do with the study and whether or not they are being affected by this? The fact that they just don't even look at it should be pretty revealing to you.
Yeah.
And just get a load of the reaction to this
It's enough of a reaction.
group of pro-mask protesters
Stanford
who,
prison
as I
screaming.
start questioning this girl who was there, who says she has long COVID, you can watch them start to creep up on me and kind of hover over my shoulder as I do this interview. They eventually interrupt the interview just as I was about to ask this person whether or not she has been vaccinated. And just watch how this mob essentially shuts down this interview because I'm getting closer and closer to the truth of what's going on. Check this out. What brings you out today?
Yes, I'm here because I have long COVID, and I'm the typical young person that was previously healthy. I only had one mild infection in December 2021, and 20 months later, I'm still suffering from symptoms. I've had to leave both my jobs. I used to be a master's student at SFU. My life has completely changed. I can't
2021, she had symptoms.
exercise anymore.
The vaccine rollout year.
It takes me 1 to 2 days to recover every time I leave the house, and there's no public health warning or communication about long COVID in this province. And it really is a shame because when the WHO has said that at least 1 in 10 infections lead to post-COVID condition, aka long COVID, this is quite serious. It's not a public health emergency. And on top of that, when masks have been removed in healthcare, there's literally no safe place that I can access medical care at all without fear of being reinfected. Especially when
You're convinced she is.
COVID19resources.ca, held by Tara Moriarty, has said 1 in 33 people in BC right now are currently infected with COVID.
Stupid. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but
Something
I'm pretty.
you wanted to say?
I'm a pretty young
I'm
dumb
making
bitch.
sure that you're
Stupid,
not
stupid,
getting
stupid.
too far into her
La, 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 la.
Today. Thank you.
Why are you cutting off?
That was her.
She said she's willing to talk to me. Why are you blocking my interview? So you're not
Care at all without fear of being reinfected. Especially when COVID19resources.ca,
And also, that's maybe she's hiding never mind.
by Tara Moriarty, has said 1 in 33 people in BC right now are currently infected with COVID.
33.
something you wanted to say?
Fake
I'm
stats.
just making sure that you're not getting too far into her
That's
face.
going to be enough for today. Thank you.
Why are you
What's
cutting
going
off
on?
this? She said she's willing to talk to me. Why are you blocking my interview?
Dodgy outlets. So
Nice
you need to
hat.
back away.
Okay. Organizer of this event that was pro-mask, by the way, who were trying to get the BC health officials to bring back mandatory masks, came over and just completely shut it down before I could bring up the fact that I think this is
Wokeist
long
bullies, what they
vax,
are.
not so-called long COVID. Guys, if you haven't seen my video from last year that was pointing all this stuff out long before this new study started to point out the correlation here, be sure you check it out. I'll put links to all of this in the description below. You can also watch this rally that I attended where these unhinged masked protesters literally attacked another man who was there just simply, counter protesting. He didn't do anything and they just jumped all over him. It was crazy, but it just goes to show you the mental instability of these people and just what we're dealing with here. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention. I'm glad these new studies are starting to come out. I'm glad at least the likes of the Wall Street Journal are starting to come to their senses and they're agreeing that, the coronavirus shouldn't be feared any more than the common cold. And as we said, now we're starting to see these links between long COVID and the vaccine. As I said, the study kind of paints the picture that the vaccines obviously aren't working if people are still getting long COVID. But I think this long COVID is actually caused by the vaccine itself. That's what I've seen according to my research, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did you also know this before the like?
So yeah, that's life now. I don't even know what to do anymore. Clearly, the people that are in the positions where something was supposed to happen long ago, peacefully. I mean, like people in uniform doing their jobs. They're just not doing it, and they're not going to do it. So that's just where we are. I don't honestly don't know what to do about it anymore. I'd say like and share. But, as of tomorrow, there's going to be more censorship bills going to be approved because of extremists, radicals that we have within key positions. And people in Canada that are supposed to care don't care because they're entitled. They're so far removed from what's going on. Like I've even told the people that I know personally, like men that are traveling the world, having a great time, fucking a different woman every single weekend, like have been doing this for their whole lives, like never sacrificed a little bit, like for a woman and a family. And they're going to get full pensions and they make 6 figures a year. And there's no one in uniform right now, I think, and it's that are doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. No one. I'm not talking about the first responder types that are out like healing, like helping people, like in their communities and stuff like that. Obviously, but I'm talking about the people that are in positions of leadership where they're supposed to be looking at all this stuff and stopping what's going on, and they're not. We've got crazy people in these positions, and no one is standing up to them in a peaceful way. That should be like they're expecting. They're giving me information. I'm like, okay, but the information that you're giving me, I already know. I already have. I gave to you, or I gave to others, right? So like, I should be giving this information to you because you're the one in uniform, and you should actually be taking that to your chain of command, and they should be taking it to their chain of command. And that's a very peaceful thing to fucking do, and the smartest thing to fucking do. And literally, you are the one to do it because you are the one that has the government on your fucking side. You literally have the uniform. This is literally what you're paid to do, and you are protected. So protected, and like even within your uniform, you're fucking protected and have a gun on your fucking side. Must be fucking nice, right? But you'll let me, now a fucking veteran civilian, you'll let me risk my life sharing this information that you're supposed to be doing something with. Make it make sense. Because now they're legalizing free speech in Canada, and they already have. But they're further escalating it, right? It's like now what I'm sharing that you're doing nothing fucking with, I could go to jail for that. And then you'll still get your fucking 6-figure job and then your pension and then travel the world on it and like look like a fucking hero. Where'd you come from, Canada? Okay. What did you do during the pandemic in Ukraine, Russia war, and Israel, Palestine? Okay, yeah, you're not a hero. Yeah, tomorrow will be interesting. Censorship bills. And people that see themselves as the fucking prison guards or the victims have the power. Yeah, Canada. Anyway, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.